بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
Can I ask the same request I asked last time from everyone? What do you think that was? That we get closer. I know it's comfortable sometimes, but when we're having our discussions, we can do that. The girls can come up a little bit if you can, please. I would appreciate that. And again, we talked about it. It's just that when the majlis is happening, the closer you are to the teacher and the angels, then they come and they surround these gatherings of ours, right? So if you can move up, that would be really appreciated, inshallah. This is just... What do you want? You want to come in the camera? You could. Okay. طيب. بسم الله. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وبعد. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. ربنا زدنا علما يا كريم. All right. So last time we talked about 3 levels of fasting. We talked about a regular fast, awam, we talked about a VIP fast, and we talked about a VVIP fast, right? The VVIP fast, the people who are very, very close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, like the Anbiya, like the Siddiqeen, and the awliya of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, their fasts, we touched upon it a little bit because it's something that, it's a lofty goal for us to achieve. But for them, they cannot stop thinking about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? So in the process of them, if they ever have to even think of the fact that they themselves are fasting, that themselves for them is a distraction because that has taken them away from Allah. The fact that I'm thinking about my fast is taking me away from Allah. I don't want to even occupy myself in my brain, it's just Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that's a very high level, and as we said, it's a very unrealistic goal, but it's something that we should attain, even if we can attain it momentarily or some moments of the day. But the second goal for us is that we want to fast, and we want to make sure that our hands, our limbs, our eyes, they are staying away from most of the haram that we can easily stay away from. Okay. And in that, we said there are 6 keys, and how many keys did we did last time? We talked about our eyes, and we talked about what? The tongue. We talked about eyes and the tongue, right? So we talked about the eyes and we talked about the tongue. So I'm just going to read the eyes and the tongue portion. I'm not going to elaborate. We read it before, but just to continue our flow, and just a quick revision, it's just a page and a half. I'll quickly read it in Arabic, translate it. I'm not going to stop in any of the details. Abdullah hasn't uploaded the last lecture, but he's been busy with his school. So inshallah, by tomorrow or tonight, I don't know how much time you need to edit, but he will upload this lecture, the lecture from last week, and then obviously for this week. So the author, he says that the Sawmul Khusus, the fasting of the VIP people, فَهُوَ كَفُّ الْجَوَارِحِ عَنِ الْآثَامِ, it is to protect your limbs from major sins and any sins. وَتَمَامُهُ بِسِتَّةِ أُمُورٍ, it is accomplished by 6 things. الأول, the first one is غض البصر. What is غض البصر? وكفه عن الاتساع في النظر إلى كل ما يذم ويكره. It is to prevent your eyesight to go beyond that which Allah has not allowed us to do. وإلى كل ما يشغل القلب ويلهي عن ذكر الله, into every single thing that may distract your heart from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. قال صلى الله عليه وسلم, Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم has said, النظرة سهم مسموم من سهام إبليس فمن تركها خوفا من الله عز وجل أتاه الله سبحانه وتعالى إيمانا يجد حلاوته في قلبه. Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم said that when we look through our eyes at something that is haram, our gaze is a poisonous arrow of shaitan. Looking at haram, gazing at haram is like a poisonous arrow and of shaitan. فَمَنْ تَرَكَهَا, if I avoid it and I leave it, I let go of it, I refrain from it, خوفا من الله تعالى, out of the fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, آتاه الله سبحانه إيمانا, Allah is going to provide that person iman. يجد حلاوته في قلبه, that person is going to be able to taste the sweetness of that iman. Allahumma ja'alna minhum, may Allah grant us that. وروى Jabir radiallahu anhu, he reports an Anas, on the authority of Anas radiallahu anhu, that anna Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam قال, Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, خمس يفطرن الصائم, 5 things break the fast of, 5 things break your fast. This is the spiritual breaking. Al-kadhibu, lying. Ghibatu, backbiting. Namima, slander. Yamin al-kadhib, to take a false oath. وَالنَّظْرُ بِالشَّهْوَةِ, and to look at something with haram. To look at something with lust. Thani, the second thing is حفظ اللسان, to protect our tongues. عن الهذيان والكذب, to protect our tongues from deviation and from lying. وَالْغِيبَ وَالنَّمِيمَ, and to protect our tongues from ghiba, backbiting, وَالنَّمِيمَ, slander, وَالْفُحْشْ وَالْجَفَى, and to talk indecent conversations, to have indecent conversations about somebody else's body, somebody else's sexuality, any of that, those conversations, that nature, that أو شغله والخصومة والمراء والجفاء, being harsh-hearted and rude, to get into fights unnecessary, والمراء, to argue for no reason. Okay? وإلزامه السكوت, and to hold your tongue and take the path of silence, i.e. mandate on yourself during the state of fasting, silence. أو شغله, if you cannot do that, then the second thing you occupy yourself with is أو شغله بذكر الله عز وجل, that you occupy yourself with the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, kind of what we just did right now, right? Now, remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as we talked about the Quran before, tilawatil Quran is the next part. The remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as we all differ in our states and connections with the Quran, so do we differ in our adhkar, in our connections, in our daily wird and incantations. For some, like for example, Abu Hurairah radiallahu an, it is mentioned about him that he would not leave his house until he would do 12,000 istighfar daily. Now compare ourselves to him and our sins to his sins. Right? And he thought that 12,000 is just like the bare minimum for him, the amount of sins that he has committed. Abu Hurairah, the one who has narrated most of the hadiths of Prophet ﷺ, the biggest amount, right? So that's that level. And then Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he left for all of us something which is called your MPL, your minimum performance level. So he set a target for every person, no matter how busy you are. This is the minimum MPL you all should engage in. Okay? So the minimum MPL of istighfar, minimum performance level of istighfar is what? 70. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it would be heard from him that in one gathering he would sit and do istighfar 70 times. كان يسمع من رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم في مجلس واحد 70 استغفارا, 70 times. I.e. people would be able to hear. It's not like he's sitting there, astaghfirullah. It's like he's in a majlis, astaghfirullah. Yeah, and he's having astaghfirullah. Like he's just constantly in a state. Conversation, as soon as he pauses, astaghfirullah. Conversation, pause, astaghfirullah. Okay? Similarly, our daily tahleel, or saying, the glorification of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, la ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lahu, lahul mulku wa lahul hamdu, yuhyi wa yumitu wa huwa ala kulli shayin qadir. The minimum is what? 10 after Fajr, 10 after Maghrib. And then the next step is 100 daily. Whosoever reads those, right? The hadith says, whosoever reads that even if that person had sins of equal to what? The foam of the ocean, right? It will all dissipate, right? So, la ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lah. So there are daily things that Rasulullah has told all of us, right? You choose whatever you want. Sending salawat on Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, right? Bare minimum is 100. So if you take the bare minimum, let's take the bare minimum of 100, bare minimum of 100 istighfar, 100 salawat, and 100 la ilaha illallah. If you can't do the whole thing, just say 100 la ilaha illallah, right? That is 300, that is literally 15 minutes, maybe 20. Divided throughout your day, right? Here and there, walking from one class to another, right? One class to another, that's your 100 istighfar done, right? And you can set those goals. Now, to keep a memory, I wish I had brought my, tasbih collection. They would have loved that. So there's different cultures have developed different ways of calculating these things, right? So if you look at the African tasbihs, they are like the Tijani tasbihs. They have different markers. They have a 7 and a 21 and a 50 and different counters for everything. Moroccans have a different one. The ones in the Middle East, Yemen, Saudi Arabia, they have 33, 33, 33. That's predominantly the most famous one that we have. So tasbihs were invented to keep people into this memory, right? And as those things evolved, right, then we turned into digital tasbihs, right? Have you seen those tasbihs, right? So somebody, alhamdulillah, has brought some tasbihs for us, for all of you, right? This would be a good reminder for all of us you guys can pass this around, and then give it to one person at a time. How many are there? I think it should be enough for everyone. If you're going to use it, then inshallah. And this would allow all of us to at least get into, and if you're going to get fancy, you can also get a USB charging one too, if you feel like this is too simple for you, right? You can get a USB charging one. It has a whole bunch of reminders in there too and stuff like that. It has an LED display, could be really good for you guys. I still like my old school. I just switch my jacket, otherwise I always have one in my pocket, and the old school tasbihs, right? And then if you use that, wrap it around your finger and just, at least let's start with these basic ones, right? 100 istighfars, 100 salawat. You don't have to do the long salat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. That's enough, right? Let's get into that habit, right? Then afterwards we can get into the, Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad al-Fatih lima ughliq wal-khatim lima sabaq nasir al-haqqi bil-haqqi wal-hadi ila siratil, so we can do the longer one later, right? But start the basics. So istighfar 100, salawat 100, and what was the last one? La ilaha illallah 100. If you can do the longer one, La ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lahu lahul mulku wa lahul hamdu wa huwa ala kulli shay'in qadir, then that's actually better, because that is directly from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, right? And the numbers that he gave us, those are, remember, those are not absolute. That's where you don't stop there. That's like he gave it for the ummah. Hey, if everyone should do this, this is the bare minimum the ummah should do, right? Sahabas understood it. So they said, oh, I'm not stopping at the bare minimum. That was Rasulullah, he gave us the bare minimum. I need to go beyond. And that's where all of these adhkar that we recited, they came into. Okay? Jamil. أو شغله بذكر الله, so you should occupy your tongue with the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala azza wa jal, وتلاوة القرآن, and the recitation of the Quran. فهذا صوم اللسان, this is the fasting of the tongue. Sufyan ibn Uyayna, he said, الغيبة تفسد الصوم. If a person is engaged in backbiting, that can corrupt or spoil your fast. Okay? Corrupt your fast. Layth ibn Sa'ad, he used to say, Layth ibn Sa'ad, he reported from Mujahid, that خصلتان تفسدان الصوم. Two qualities, if they are found in a person, they can corrupt a person's fast. Okay, al-ghibatu wal-kadhib, backbiting and backbiting, ghibatu wal-kadhib, and lying. Okay. قال صلى الله عليه وسلم إنما الصوم الجنة. Fasting is a shield. فإذا كان أحدكم صائما فلا يرفث ولا يجهل. If one of you is fasting, then let that person not get into vain taunt, or ولا يجهل, and don't be an ignorant person. Like, don't act like an ignorant person. In other words, don't act like not being a Muslim. Like, stay calm. Don't get into fights. And if something happens, then say فإن امرؤ قاتله أو شاتمه. And if a person still wants to engage with you, and they want to fight you, and they want to get into an argument with you, or they want to, they rebuke you with vile language. فَلْيَقُلْ, let that person say, إِنِّي صَائِمٌ, I am fasting, مَرَّتَيْن أَوْ ثَلَاث. If I can ask the brothers to move from the door, because that's an entranceway, and we should not, from the adab is we should not sit in a passage of people. So there's a whole bunch of space here in the front. If you guys brothers move up here, so as brothers walking in, they don't have to go over you guys. Jamil. الثالث, third point. Okay. The third point. Can you take the phone? This is just, it keeps ringing and it distracts me. الثالث, the fourth point, the third point, we begin today inshallah. كف السمع عن الإصغاء إلى كل مكروه, to prevent hearing every thing that is makruh, that is prohibited or disliked in our Sharia. Okay, so protecting my ears, protecting myself from listening to everything that I am not supposed to be listening to. Tell me some of the things we're not supposed to be listening to.
Other people's conversations.
Eavesdropping. It's like you're sitting in a coffee shop, you're like, oh, interesting. Wow. Right? Other people's conversations. Al-majalisu bil-amana. Gatherings are a trust. If somebody is talking loudly and you were not the intended person of that conversation, to attentively sit there and go like, acha, now I see. Right? And then you go out and then you spread that. Right? They never intended you to have that conversation. Okay, what else? Okay, music. Now let me talk a little bit about music. Right? You're going to find varying different opinions of the scholars on music. Okay? But even the ones who will permit music, right? If you take those scholars, they all have unanimously agreed that the current music industry is haram. Okay? Even the ones who will say, okay, it's okay for you to listen to some music, right? They will never, they condemn every single form of the current industry. Now, maybe this would be a good time. Maybe we'll try to bring Dr. Faisal from Canada. Remember the one who came with the drums and stuff? Yeah, he'll be good. I think let's try to see if I can arrange that. Talk to me about it. So he is a percussionist or something, so he understands the drum world somehow. And what he did is he brought drums for us, and he broke down every famous song into beats for us. And then he's like, notice how all of these beats are demonic beats. So he would like take a famous song, it's like, okay, he asked the teenagers, tell a song that was playing this, okay, and then he broke it down for you like, and he's like, look at this. Every song is that. Then he told us that there are 4 people, the last 20 years, every song that has become famous on the top 10 charts, the people who have developed the tunes of those songs, they're 4 people. They all live in Iceland, okay? And they have the most horrendous satanic like rituals they do for them to get inspirations for these songs. It was just like to hear somebody from that world and then tell us that this is, you guys think it's just a coincidence that people like listen to a beat and then it gets stuck in your head? Right? It's actually Shaitan has inspired a lot of that to these guys, and then they eventually end up like working with one another, and their beats end up becoming, their rhymes end up becoming, their rhythm ends up becoming the top 10 chart. Right? So there's an entire industry to that. And again, not to even get into how certain lyrics are inspired by people, and if you actually play those lyrics reverse, right? If you play those lyrics, there's subliminal messages in that, right? There's an entire industry, like, when you look at Coca-Cola's ads, you look at all of these ads, there are so many subliminal messages that they have given in those ads that your subconscious gets it, but your conscious mind doesn't. So hearing any of that modern day industry. So what do you do? In Ramadan, what I would tell people is, if you're accustomed to listening to songs, unfortunately it's a great, it's sometimes difficult, but Ramadan fortunately is a great opportunity to cut cold turkey. It's a great opportunity, okay? And move to an alternate, right? When we are in a state of fasting, it is so much easier for us to listen to Quran, okay? So much easier to listen to Quran. And then you choose a qari that suits you. Don't have to copy. Like, oh, he is listening to that. Maybe what he is listening to may not work for you. Okay? Every recitation is in a different rhythm. So if you're reciting in Nahawand, the maqam of Nahawand, the tune of Nahawand, it's a very different maqam. Okay? Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, Ar-Rahmanir Rahim, Maliki Yawmiddin, Iyaka na'budu wa iyaka nasta'een. This is very different from this to somebody reciting in a sad tune, which is like if you're reciting, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, Ar-Rahmanir Rahim, Maliki Yawmiddin. Very different, right? If you do the Sudani muqam, which is like an African, he can do it. Yeah, you can do it. Do it, man. Stop acting like a kid.
What can you do it?
I don't want to do it. Just go ahead. Do it. Do the Sudani muqam.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين
Allah.
إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين
Ameen.
آمين.
Right? So all were Fatihas, but different maqam. Right? Some maqams elicit a happiness feeling. Some maqams, they elicit a sad feeling. Right? Some maqams, they have hijaz. Right? So hijaz is like a very high, like when you give the adhan, right? Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. So it's like it's meant to wake you up. It's not meant to like, oh, let's go to sleep. Right? But there are certain adhans, they will like mellow you down, right? So if you do adhans in those. So similarly is the Quran. So listen to a reciter that your soul resonates with. Right? How do you pick it up? What type of music you listen to, right? If you listen to a specific type of music, a genre that is mellow, right? Then you want to pick up certain reciters that recite in slower maqams. You'll have to try different qira'at, different reciters and stuff like that. The universal reciters that I'll tell you that will work with every person, okay? There are some reciters that, mashallah, Allah has blessed them. And if you listen to those reciters, the three that I always recommend to people, right? Mashari al-Afasi, Mashari Rashid al-Afasi, beautiful. Everybody can. Nahawand is like standard. Like you can listen to it, you're going to feel connected to it no matter what. Okay? Mashari al-Afasi. And then you have, what's the one we used to go to the masjid? No. Nasir al-Qatami. Nasir al-Qatami. And then you have the one in Jeddah that we went to, the one who lives in UK now. The one who lives in UK now. Yeah, he's moved to UK. Man, I met him. No. What did he say? Huh? No, Abdulaziz Zahrani, no. No, he moved to UK, man. Yemen. He's Yemeni. He lived in Jeddah. He's very famous. I don't know, I forgot. His name will come to me. Huh? Bandar Balila is also really good. Yeah, Bandar Balila is also really good. He's the Imam of Haram. So these are some good ones that you can listen to. And they're like, Bandar Balila is really good because Bandar Balila will do like all maqams. Like depending on what he felt that day, that's the maqam he does. So he's never one standard maqam. Like every time you listen to him, it's going to be a new tune. So Bandar Balila, you'll never, because like every section of the Quran, he'll be like reciting new way. Right? So that's something really good. And also Yasir al-Dawsiri. He's also from Haram, inshallah. Okay? So switch that, listening to haram. What other things that we listen to that are haram?
Lahu.
Huh? Laghu. Right? Any type of unnecessary things that you're not supposed to be involved in. Right? Everything that is haram for you to say is haram for you to listen. If somebody is backbiting to you about somebody else, you're not the one backbiting. You're like, it's okay, I'm not the one backbiting, I'm just listening. No. If you're listening, you're fully involved in that process, even though you didn't say a word. Right? So he says, وَلِذَلِكَ So he says, كَفُّ السَّمْعِ عَنِ الْإِصْغَاءِ إِلَى كُلِّ مَكْرُوهٍ To stay away from listening, to prevent your ears from paying attention to or attentively listening to everything that is haram. لأن كل ما حرم قوله حرم الإصغاء إليه Everything that is haram for us to utter and speak, it is haram for us to listen to. ولذلك And because of that, سوى الله عز وجل بين المستمع والآكل السحت سوى الله عز وجل بين المستمع وآكل السحت Prophet sallallahu Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he said, the one who listens to haram and the one who eats haram money, they're both equal in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Like somebody who steals money, akl as-suht, you steal money from poor and you eat, or the one who listens to in vain talk, Allah made them equal in the ayah. Where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, سَمَّعُونَ لِلْكَذِبِ أَكَّالُونَ لِلسُّحْتِ The quality that He gives of our people, the quality that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives of Banu Israel is they were سَمَّعُونَ لِلْكَذِبِ They were very attentively listening to all false statements. أَكَّالُونَ لِلسُّحْتِ They used to eat the money of poor people. Okay? Basically any form of haram that they would eat. Okay? Any questions about hearing? Or any concerns about that or anything practical that you guys want to ask about? Yes?
So how should you address that in the workplace, for example? Like if you're the only Muslim and your coworkers curse a lot or they backbite a lot and it's like you can't physically escape. Maybe you can put headphones in, but how do you have that conversation with someone whose basis for right and wrong is completely removed from religion?
So the word he uses is al-isgha, which is to attentively listen. Like you are involved in a direct conversation with a person and he's swearing, you stop him. But if you're in a workplace and then people are swearing around you, that's passive noise, you're not attentively listening to it. But when you're having the conversation with that person, like I worked in the corporate over here for a while, and it's a lot more easier today than it was when I was working in the corporate, right? Back when I was 20, right? There was no Muslims, right? At that time when they would swear, I would tell them, I don't appreciate swearing. And everybody knows that. It's just the manager of that floor will probably decide it's okay to swear because he swears, right? I remember even telling my vice president, I don't like swearing. And they will actually respect you more. They will actually respect you that you're a man of principle, right? Or you're a woman of principle. You say, I'm sorry, I do not appreciate foul talk. I don't listen to swearing at workplace. It makes me uncomfortable. That's it. You draw your boundary and then they will work with you on that, right? If they can tell you that, I'm a he, she, they, and whatever, this is actually the easiest thing to say. It's like, listen, I feel very uncomfortable with these words. They trigger me. use anything like that, and nowadays it's so much easy to get along with anything. Right? Like I know of a person, he used this to his advantage so much that they started actually questioning him. So he came in, he's like, music triggers me. They were all like, is there any type of, he's like, I just can't listen to music, it triggers me. So to accommodate him on the floor, they shut down the entire music. Right? Then like the manager came to the brother and he's like, what if we played like lobby music? Like, just like a piano or something. Right? Then he said, I can give you the music you can play. There's a certain type of music that doesn't trigger me. And he gave them nasheeds. So, bro, like imagine on a Coca-Cola floor, on a Coke floor, in Atlanta, on a Coke, like a floor where Coca employees are working, they're like, Muhammad, they're like having the sheets going on, and they're like, oh, like, this is vibe, this is good. They're not realizing that it's actually their soul that is actually attaching to those songs, right? It's not vile talk. I did that at, Fuel Coffee. I went to Fuel Coffee. I noticed that they had an Alexa that they were playing music from, right? So we were sitting in the morning, and I was like, Alexa, play Sami Yusuf. And then like everyone's letting, and then this lady does, she's like, she pauses, she's like, Alexa, play my playlist. So she would do that from her place, and then I would reset the Alexa every time. So it was very, but if you tell them that you're not, I've never had this issue. Like I go and I tell them, I don't like this type of music, or I don't want my kids to listen to this type, and they will actually accommodate you. Okay, but that's a good question. Any other questions about listening? Okay, Jameel. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says in the Quran, فَلَا تَقْعُدُوا مَعَهُمْ حَتَّى يَخُوضُوا فِي حَدِيثٍ غَيْرَهُ. Prophet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, if people are involved in haram talk, do not sit with them. فَلَا تَقْعُدُوا مَعَهُمْ. Don't sit with people who are having in vain talk. So you either are in a place, they start talking not good, you withdraw yourself. Don't sit with them. It's in the Quran. حَتَّى يَخُوضُوا فِي حَدِيثٍ غَيْرِ. Until they get occupied with other good conversations, then you can go back and join them. Okay? الرابع, the fourth one. The fourth one, كَفُّ بَقِيَّةِ الْجَوَارِحِ, to prevent the rest of our limbs, مِنَ الْيَدْ وَالرِّجْلِ عَنِ الْمَكَارِهِ, to prevent all of the rest of our limbs from, whether it is our hands, our legs, from that are things that are haram. And specifically, he says, وَالْبَطْنُ عَنْ شُبُهَاتِ وَقْتَ الْإِفْطَارِ, and to stay away from food that is doubtful at the time of iftar. So you're not really sure, when I say doubtful, you're not really sure if you're at some restaurant or you're somewhere, you're not really sure if this food is halal. So there's a doubt in it, there's a shubha for you. Now you have stayed away from your food all day, then make sure that the food that you're eating is halal. And if you happen to have shubha, a doubt, it is better to refrain from it. You fasted and stayed away from food all day long. You have developed the ability to let go of the food. Now is your time to say, you know what, it's doubtful, it's okay, I've stayed food the whole day. I can wait after and I can go and get halal food somewhere else. Right? Doubtful food is when you're not really sure if the person who is serving the food that they have served is, if you can confirm it's halal, then it's not a problem. Go ahead and eat it. Right? Or shubha could be, you're not sure what ingredients does this food have, halal or haram ingredients. You're traveling, you only got, like for example, you stopped somewhere and the only thing you could get was a bakery. You're not really sure if the bakery used if you are in doubt, here's the part that we have to understand. If you pick up a bakery item from a bakery, okay, for food, unless you see bacon on it, right, it's a bakery item. Sharia has not obliged you to find the 27 ingredients that are found in that bakery item. Sharia looks at the zahir, I'm eating bread. Okay? So zahir, 99% of the time the bread is going to be halal. Right? That 1%, right, we don't need to go after that. Right? Our deen is very easy. Now, if I see, for example, I don't know if this is a thing here, but in Canada it's a thing where they put bacon on donuts. It's a thing here? Okay, alhamdulillah. Yeah, some people are still shocked. It's a very Canadian thing. You take a maple donut, you fill it with cream, and you put bacon on it. Right? Why are people smiling about this? Like yeah, this is so good. No, but I'm serious. So, but if you have that food there, and for example, I went to a shop where I like to go to when I'm in Canada so they always have that bacon sitting with other. So I will skip that donut line, the next line over. I'll at least, I can stay away from, or I'll say, can you get me one from the back, fresh, because they make them in batches. So they'll get you one fresh from the back, right? So whichever you can do to get rid of those doubts, okay? فَلَا مَعْنَى لِلصَّوْمِ, there is no meaning for you to fast. وَهُوَ الْكَفُّ عَنَ طَعَامِ الْحَلَالِ. What is fast? You stay away from that which was halal. What is the meaning of this fast if a person ends up breaking their fast with haram food? You stayed away from halal all day and then now you're like, okay, mashallah, let's have haram food. Right? ثُمَّ الْإِفْطَارُ عَلَى الْحَرَامِ فَإِنَّ الطَّعَامِ halal. And the food is that you stayed away from was halal all day, and now you break your fast with haram. That's not, it's not logical. فَالصَّوْمُ لِلتَّقْلِيلِهِ. Fasting came so that we reduce our food, not to increase the consumption of our food. Okay? وَتَارِكُ الْإِسْتِكْثَارِ من الدواء خوفا من ضرره إذ عدل إلى تناوله السم. Right? Now, he says, it's as if a person is given a dawa. What's the word for it? Medicine. The person is given a medicine. Right? Now, the food was supposed to be your medicine, i.e. it was supposed to just drive you for the rest of the day. It was not supposed to be that you take your medicine, it's like, oh, I'm going to get healing from this medicine, let me just eat all the Advil in one shot. Like, I'll take the entire Advil, gone. Right? And then you'll be gone too. That's a different story. Right? وَالْحَرَامُ سُمٌّ يُهْلِكُ الدِّينَ. What is haram is that food that we eat that sometimes can destroy our deen. Because what happens, I developed spirituality all day long by starving myself and controlling my nafs. And at the time of the iftar, I have filled it with that poison again, the food that I eat. Like metaphorically poisonous food, like it's not real poisonous food, but metaphorically I indulged gluttonously so much, and now I have lost the entire spirituality. Right? What happens to most of the people by the Isha time? Right? Like they barely make it for Isha. And then what ends up happening, your heart says, you know what? I will join in the 8th rakat Taraweeh and make it my intention to do Isha. Because you were so occupied with food. And now you need at least an hour or so to settle down because you've shocked your system, you shocked your body. Right? Okay. قال صلى الله عليه وسلم كم من صائم. How many times does it happen that you have a person who fasts? ليس له من صيامه إلا الجوع والعطش. So many people fast and all they get from their fast is hunger and thirst. Nothing else. Right? Imagine this. Rasulullah is saying so many people fast. And all they're going to walk away on the day of judgment, they're going to see all their fasts, 60 years of fasting, is just thirst and hunger. No reward. So some of the Sahabas, some of the ulama, they asked, who are these people? Who are the people who will just have the record of thirst and hunger and they will have no reward? فَقِيلَ. It was said, هُوَ الَّذِي يُفْطِرُ عَلَى حَرَامٍ. He is the one, number one, who breaks his fast on haram. So very important to make sure that the food you're eating is halal. Okay? And the number two, who are these people? Who do not protect their limbs from haram. So you're fasting, but you're committing every single type of haram. And the type of stories I have heard, that's not the point for here, but like when things that people have done in fasting. And then later on, when they were older, they realize, now they're 27, 28, they have remorse, and then they end up calling imams, and then you hear stories and you're like, subhanallah, so just be very, very careful about this, right? Fasting is about not just food, it's about my body, my limbs, my eyes. Make a list of things that your habits that you have that you want to get rid of, right? Maybe you're looking at things you're not supposed to be looking at. Maybe you're watching stuff that you're not supposed to be watching. Maybe you're hearing stuff you're not supposed to be hearing. Maybe you're in conversations or you're talking to a person, a guy or a girl, in a manner that you're not supposed to be talking. All of those things, if you don't change now, don't start a barrier now, things will not become better, right? And it will only become harder. Remember, the more sins, the more anxiety there is going to be, the more depression there's going to be, the more mental health problems you're going to have. It's in the Quran. Allah said that, وَمَن يَعْشُ عَنْ ذِكْرِ الرَّحْمَنِ فَإِنَّ لَهُ مَعِيشَةً ضَنْقًا. Right? If you turn away from the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you're going to have a very constricted, I said that wrong, right? وَمَن يُعْرِضْ عَنْ ذِكْرِ الرَّحْمَنِ. No. You messed me up now.
You messed me up.
I messed you up? I'll see you in the car. What's the ayah? Who's the hafiz here? وَمَنْ أَعْرَضَ عَنْ ذِكْرِي فَإِنَّ لَهُ مَعِيشَةً ضَنْقًا. Whosoever turned away from the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that person is going to have ma'ishatan. He's going to live a life ضَنْقًا, constricted. You're going to feel choked all your life. Okay? In another ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, those who turn away from the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they are like كَأَنَّمَا يَسَعَّدُ فِي السَّمَاءِ. It's as if you are going towards the sky. And what happens when you go up above the sky, like when you go really high? Oxygen, lack of oxygen. So Allah is saying that you're going to be like gasping for air. The person is like, when you see that, these are all effects of sins. Okay? Okay? والخامس, the fifth one, ألا يستكثر من الحلال في وقت الإفطار. Now, let's say you're all sitting and now you have halal food. So the author says, during the time of iftar, the fifth thing you have to worry about is now, mashallah, your whole, mashallah, sufra, everything that you see in front of you is halal. Do not have abundance of halal on the table. And even if there is, then make sure that you don't take abundance from it. Okay? Allah yastakthira min al-halali waqt al-iftar. Do not increase, do not have abundance of halal at the time of iftar. بِحَيْثُ يَمْتَلِي جَوْفُهُ. In a state that your entire body, your entire stomach is filled with halal food now. Okay? فَمَا وِعَاءٌ, as the hadith says, in Tirmidhi and Ibn Majah, the hadith says, فَمَا وِعَاءٌ أَبْغَضَ إِلَى اللَّهِ مِن بَطْنٍ. There is no vessel that makes Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala more angrier than somebody who fills their stomach too full. No vessel, when it is filled to the top, makes Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala more angrier than the batan, than our stomach. Okay? فَكَيْفَ يُسْتَفَادُ مِن صَوْمِهِ قَهْرُ عَدُوِّ اللَّهِ. How is that person going to benefit from Allah at the time of iftar? At the time, Prophet ﷺ said, عِنْدَ الْإِفْطَارِ لِلصَّائِمِ فَرْحَتَانِ. At the time of iftar, the person is going to have two moments of joys. Moment at the time when he is going to make dua and he's going to get the food, and the moment of happiness when he's going to meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The author here says, okay, this was the moment of your joyful moment with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now you've turned it into a moment where you've made Allah angry by filling your stomach up with halal food. Okay? And then what happens, mashallah, in our every culture of ours, right? فَكَيْفَ يُسْتَفَادُ مِنَ الصَّوْمِ قَهْرُ عَدُوِّ اللَّهِ. How can a person benefit from his fast and you have just called upon Allah's wrath? وَكَسْرُ الشَّهْوَةِ إِذْ تَدَارَكَ الصَّائِمُ عِنْدَ فِطْرِهِ مَا فَاتَهُ النَّهَارِ. And now your desire, your nafs was supposed to be broken, but you have let go of your nafs unchecked. You're like, Bismillah, do what you like. Right? So then he says, what the problem happens is, وَرُبَّمَا يَزِيدُ عَلَيْهِ أَلْوَانُ الطَّعَامِ. What happens at the time of iftar? MashaAllah, foods that you've not had all year long come to the table. Right? Every culture has special foods for special season. Pakode, samosa, right? Huh? Malpure, mashallah, mashallah. These guys are all ready for it. Right? Do you know why the sisters are not saying this? Because they'll be making it if they're in a desi household. None of the sisters, they're like, Ramadan is not. I did a workshop and the sisters are like, how can we not cook food in Ramadan? And it's so sad. Every culture, whether it's Arab culture, desi culture, there's so much burden on sisters in Ramadan. Unnecessary. It was supposed to be less burden. She was supposed to cook less. Right? And then now they're stressed out, like, is my fridge filled with enough food for me to be able to sustain this? Ghar mein pakode ban rahe, people are like wrapping pakodas and all of that, like samosas wrapping. Tomorrow we're doing 500 samosas. Right? It's subhanallah, we have turned it completely upside down. It was supposed to be like, can we get rid of everything in our freezer so we have less food? Right? What is the bare minimum calories that you need in a day for you to have a healthy body?
2,000.
No, I'm not talking about a muscular body. Like sustained. If a person gets anywhere between 1,100 to 1,500 calories, you can survive. Yeah, you can survive. You will become, as I'm saying, you're not 1,100 to 1,500 calories, depending on your size and mass. Okay, mashallah, every one of us, we're walking with 20-30% extra body fat that we can get rid of, right? But that should not be your intention. Your intention is taqleel of ta'am. Okay? Your intention is to limit your food, right? To limit your food. So if you set a target, so the limit is that if you can set a target of like X amount of calories a day and then set that target, right? It's so much easier. Like I was talking to one of, like the other day, like, you know, so a lot of these high performers, you know, if you, all of the shuyukh that have done so many things, like I meet them, for example, sometimes, you know, I met Dr. Zakir Naik. I spent an entire month of Ramadan with him. I prayed Taraweeh every single day with him. This guy doesn't eat. He sleeps for 2 hours a day. And you see the memory he has? That memory is there by sleeping only 2 hours a day. And if anybody had said, no, this we saw him, like he would be with Taraweeh with us, then and then he'll go like 1 o'clock, 3 o'clock he'll wake up, and then from 3 o'clock till next day 1 o'clock he'll be up all day. And he's like getting on phone call. He has a school. He has this thing. He has that thing. He has this thing. And then when at the iftar time, he would hardly have like 500-600 calories. And we're like afterwards, you know, like. Okay, man, I'm like buffet with Dr. Zakir Naik. I'm like, yo, this is my time, all right? Like, I'm like, you know, I was a student at that time. I'm like, can you imagine you being like the translator for him? Like, you know, I'm going wherever he's going, I'm translating for him. And then all these Saudi gatherings we would have, buffet. I'm like, man, food I had never seen my life. He was never tempted with it, right? I met YQ. He came in Atlanta. We went out for food. He told me that he does 1 meal a day. He switched to 1 meal a day. 1,100 to 1,200 calories. He's been doing that for the last 4 years. Okay? You don't see any energy drop. Here's something that for us to think about. All these calculations that we hear from the world, you know, food organization, this organization, that organization, they'll tell you this calorie. I once said to my teacher, Sheikh Talal, I said, you're gonna, you have to eat more food, Sheikh, like, you know. And he looked at me and he said, all of that is bakwas. I was like, what? Bakwas means like nonsense, doesn't make sense. And he said, because as Muslims, and this is, you know, if anybody attended the Aqidah class that I taught in the break? None of you came. Astaghfirullah. I think I should leave. Huh? I can't see. You attended it? You came.
It was 3 days, right?
4 days in the break. You were jogging from Florida or California?
No, I was on the online part.
Oh, you came to the ones that we did 2 years ago.
No, this one.
You came there?
He was online.
You were the online one. Okay. But you were in Florida. You can't remember where you logged in from? Brother, gotta get your checkup done. Okay, so you were there, this one. So we talked about something, right? We said that I diverge, but this is an important concept. See, food, satiation. Food, satiation, they're two things, right? So there are, how many possibilities can exist? Basic logic. Okay, tell me what are the possibilities. Food exists and satiation exists. That's basic one. Food equals satiation. Food exists and satiation cannot exist. Okay? Now, food doesn't exist and satiation exists. All of these possibilities, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is capable of doing this. That is why Allah gave us the example of Ibrahim alayhi salam. Fire burning. Fire exists, burning can take place. Fire exists, no burning can take place. Fire exists, a cool, inhabitable temperature can be created with fire. Because Allah is the creator of the cause, and Allah is the creator of the sabab, the effect of that cause. And Allah keeps this link, He keeps that link. Now, in science, what we study is the most dominant, prominent link. So, predominantly, fire will burn. Cause and effect. Predominantly, it's going to burn, but not absolute. Similarly, food satiation. Food will most likely satiate you 99% of the time. Okay? But we know of people that eat food and they die. Satiation didn't exist. Right? Give somebody with peanut allergies peanut. Right? They'll die. Food existed, no satiation. Right? Or satiation existed and they never needed food. So many examples of the Sahaba. So many examples of Salafus Salihin. Right? They were traveling, they didn't have anything. Rasulullah ﷺ, what did he say? Prophet Aisha radiallahu anha said, we would stay and they would be for 30 days, 2 moon cycles, and we would not have any, we would not light fire to cook anything, and we would just be on water and dates. Okay? So, coming to the same thing, that 1500 calories, 1000 calories, all of those calories, right? Those are great, that's predominant. But when a person reaches a level of high spirituality, especially in the month of Ramadan, it's very likely that you can, satiate yourself and feel absolutely no hunger at all with no calories. Right? Don't do that. Right? Shaykh said it, okay? And then the next thing you know, people are fainted here. They're like, oh, we're not eating any food. Don't do that. Eat food. Right? Eat food. Okay? So he says, so how is that person going to benefit from his fast? Right? If that person, he breaks his fast and he angers Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay? And now we have so many alwan of ta'am, different types of from. حتى استمرت العادات بأن يدخر جميع الأطعمة للرمضان. Now it has become a custom that certain foods are only attached to Ramadan. فيؤكل فيه من الأطعمة ما لا يؤكل من عدة أشهر. And now we eat certain types of food that are not found in any other parts of the world. معلوم أن مقصود الصوم الخواء وكسر الهواء. The purpose of the fasting is that we literally feel the hunger. وكسر الهواء. And our desires are broken. My animalistic instincts are shattered. That's the purpose of fast. I want to break my animalistic instinct. That haywani feeling that I have inside of me, that has to be broken with food. And nothing can break it faster than depriving your soul, body of food. Nothing breaks it faster. Okay? أنا المقصود الصوم الخو والكسر الهواء لتقوية النفس على التقوى. This is beautiful. Why do I need to break my animalistic instincts inside of me? Right? This bahimi, the bahimi nafs that I have. Why do I need to break it? لتقوية النفس, so that my nafs becomes powerful على التقوى, so I can adopt taqwa in my life. If your body is controlled by your animalistic desires, then taqwa leaves. But if taqwa has to come in, you have to control that beast inside of you. And nothing controls that beast faster than depriving it from food. Okay? You know that guy who's like the British racist that's been going around? What's his name? Tommy Robinson, right? What happened to him when they kept him in solitary confinement with 1,000 calories of food? You guys saw that video? They put him in 15 days of solitary confinement and they only gave him, I think, 1,000 calories of food. He came out and all his arrogance was shattered. He was like, I was like, life is, you look at him talking, I'm like, what happened to this guy? Completely changed. Right? Completely changed. Because to break that bahimi nafs inside of you, that animalistic nafs, deprive somebody of food, limited calories, and put them in a solitary confinement, things will change automatically. Okay? So now the next part he explains, I hope that I'm able to explain this. فَإِذَا دُفِعَتْ الْمَعِدَةُ ضَحْوَةِ النَّهَارِ إِلَى الْعِشَاءِ. So let's say that your stomach is now empty from all the way in the morning until the time of Isha or Maghrib time. حَتَّى هَاجَتْ شَهْوَتُهُ وَقَوِيَتْ رَغْبَتُهُ. Now what has happened is from the morning so the author says, imagine if the person, so question for you guys, when do most of the sins take place? Daytime or nighttime? Why? We have light everywhere right now. So that light is not the... Because people eat all day. It's like when you're in the morning, nobody's like, yeah, let's go to Sin City. No, nobody's like thinking of that, right? They're like, oh God, I gotta have breakfast. Right? By the time lunch, dinner, so that's what he says, that if the ma'idah is filled from the morning all the way to Isha, then what happens? Until Isha time, now hajat shahwatuhu wa qawiyat raghbatuhu. That person, his shahwa, his desires are at full peak now. Okay? That's why if you look at the statistics, most of the people that watch porn, they watch it at night. Nobody watches it at Fajr time. Right? Nobody's like after Fajr, like it doesn't happen. No, you look at the stats, it's not in the morning times. The max usage is at night time. Because you filled yourself and now that food has drived that person's shahwa to that level. Okay? Anyhow. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. May Allah protect us from that. Ya Rabbi. So what happens on top of that, the person, what happens? 10 minutes left? Okay. Oh, it's 8:04. You guys should eat food. Okay, how many more sessions do we have? Where are the organizers there? I have... Sorry? We have 2 more sessions? Maybe? 2 more sessions? Okay, I can... so I can finish those. Don't worry. I got 3 more pages to go. So let me finish this. Can I finish this page? Can we wait this much? I can finish this page. So this way then it gives me 2 pages here and 2 pages here, and then we should be able to finish in the next 2 sessions. Okay, so let's go this. فَرُوحُ الصَّوْمِ. What is the spirit? What is the ruh of fasting? وَسِرُّهُ. And its secret. What is the spirit essence of fasting, and what's the secret behind all of this? Why Allah has legislated this? تَضْعِيف. It is to weaken al-quwa, the power inside of us. التي هي وسائل الشيطان. It is to weaken the receptors inside of our bodies where shaitan has direct effect on us. When we fast, that weakens shaitan's reception. Your reception of shaitan's commands become weakened because your antennas, your receptors have become weakened. That's the ultimate purpose of fasting. Okay? And what happens in Ramadan? Shaitans are tied up. So now you're fighting the nafs all day long, you're fighting the nafs. Now shaitan is not even there. So it becomes so much easier for us to actually do good. Right? That is why Prophet ﷺ, what did he say when he was getting on the mimbar? Ameen, ameen, ameen. One of the du'as he said is, Man adraka Ramadan falam yughfar lahu. that a person, he found Ramadan, he got Ramadan, and you were not able to get your sins forgiven, then destruction is for that person. That you had all the opportunity, the stage was set for you, an ultimate reset, and you still couldn't do it? May Allah protect us. وَلَنْ يُحْسَلُ ذَلِكَ إِلَّا بِتَقْلِيلٍ. The only way that we can do that is by reducing food. وَهُوَ أَنْ يَأْكُلَ أَكْلَتَهُ الَّتِي كَانَ يَأْكُلُهَا كُلَّ لَيْلَةٍ لَوْ لَمْ يَصُمْ. The best thing to do is to keep your food and diet exactly the same, but just altering the time. That's it, the best thing. The best thing we can do is don't add any fancy food, don't add, whatever you're eating now, whatever your regular routine is, keep that regular routine. So what are we doing? We're actually removing emphasis away from the food. And all you're doing is now, instead of eating at lunchtime, you're eating your dinner or you're eating your iftar, and then you're having your suhoor in the morning. Okay? Now, I talked a little bit about that last time too, but one of the hacks that I have for, I'll stop over here for this. So for food, for iftar, right? Coconut water is an absolute game changer when it comes to hacks, especially if you're students. Right? Coconut water, so if you're doing Taraweeh, 1 liter of coconut water in terms of the hydration it provides you is equal to you drinking 2 water bottles. That same amount of water, 2 full liters of water. So if Taraweeh time, the best thing you can occupy yourself is just buy a box of coconut water. Okay, I'm not sure if it's available on campus. The ones that are sugar-free, just plain coconut. Huh? Or you can get it from Costco too. Yes, you can get it from Costco too. Okay? Coconut water, or you can get it from Costco. Excellent. That's number 1 hack that you can do. The other thing that you can do is for suhoor time. This is something that I did last year too. It was something so one of the shuyukh told me, and I loved it, which is Greek yogurt with a scoop of protein, any type of protein that you want, right? Any flavor you like. Greek yogurt, mix it. It literally becomes like ice cream. Those of you that like desis, like faluda, right? Like put it in the freezer a little bit. You want to get faluda vibes going, you can do that. Too bad they don't make faluda flavor protein shakes. But if that was a thing, it would definitely be on every desi's household. So, but you can put any of those and just add a little bit of berries. That what that does is, like what I did was like measured my glucose spike with having a breakfast of like good quality 5% full fat Greek yogurt with a scoop of protein. There's absolutely no sugar spike. Like it's just like your sugar reading is like exactly the same the entire time. Okay? That, and the second meal that is phenomenally great for sustained 12, 13 hours of energy, right, is eggs with avocado. If either of these 2 meals will get you, if you're in a hurry, coconut, the Greek yogurt, that's all you need for suhoor. And literally, I remember looking at where your sugar levels start dipping down. It took like 14 or 15 hours before that sustained energy, and then sugar levels started going down. So your sugar will rise, but it'll be a sustained rise in sugar, so you're not going to get hungry all day long. 100%. Yeah, I was going to get to that. And then you can add dates to that. Dates have a specific type of sugar, like it's not glucose, it's, No. It's a 4th type of sugar. It's some rose. It'll come to, No. It's another rose. Look it up. You'll see. It's a very different type of. It has a certain type of sugar that it doesn't, like if somebody has diabetes and stuff like that, it doesn't impact them that much. Right? There was like a whole study on it that I remember. Huh? No, give me another name. No, there's a study that talked about a specific type. Ajwa dates? No, any dates. Doesn't matter. Any dates. I have it on my thing. I'll show it to you guys afterwards. So that's for your food, for your iftar. Just if you have dates, that's great. Do you guys have dates for the thing, or do you want me? I can arrange for. No. For like in Ramadan, do you guys have access to good dates for the GT? Okay, you ordered. Okay, you already have it. Okay, perfect. Awesome. Huh? Allulose. Okay, allulose. Okay. Right? And then that's the type of sugar that's found in dates that's actually really good. So when we have dates, close? Okay. So Abdullah says we have to end 1 minute. He's the director. We have to follow his direction. So we'll stop here, inshallah. We have the next part is adab. So what are some of the etiquettes of eating food? We're going to get into that inshallah next time. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.